Make a pick and roll with it. Betting weekly. Fast break. From coast to coast and way downtown. From coast to coast and way downtown. From coast to coast and way downtown.
Welcome into a Tuesday edition of Betting Weekly Fast Break. I'm Doug Kezirian alongside professional handicapper Albert Nguyen, also known as Analytics Capper. We are up and running on this Tuesday. We already got one WNBA game in the books, a wild finish with some questionable officiating. And we're going to get into some NBA Summer League as well as some futures odds as news starts to surface a little bit and speculation rampant and odds are changing. But good to be with you, Albert, on this Tuesday. Back-to-back days for us.
No, it's great. I was happy about the WNBA game this morning. I lost the Dream first half last night, but I was on the Mystics first half this morning as kind of a bounce back bet. And I don't know if you watched the end of that first half, but they got the last second layup just to cover for me. So no complaints for me. Excited to talk about the game later tonight, but also Summer League tonight as well.
Yeah, lots to get through. It's funny. I had 3 plays yesterday. One was as automatic of a winner as you could ever have in a prop wager, and the other one was as bad of a loser as you can have. So, they both count the same in terms of win-loss, but it was pretty funny. Had the under in a Summer League game that went over by about 40 points, and then I had Sammy Whitcomb over 12.5 or 13.5, and she had that within 5 minutes of the game, had 29 in the first half. So, sometimes you can pull a muscle, pat yourself on the back, and sometimes you want to just run the other way. So I had that literally within an hour of each other. So that was kind of a funny situation in that regard. But good to get back at it today. So the W game, you had a last second. I mean, they were up like 9. The Mystics were the right side in the first half. It's funny. I was curious how the referees would respond to Angel Reese's comments after the last game, the loss, and I felt they were like shook. They were horrendous both ways, and she did get a friendly whistle a couple times, but so did a lot of players. It was just really, really bad officiating today. Worse than it normally is.
Yeah, let me get on this soapbox for 30 seconds, Doug, because we're talking
Please.
about a league, arguably the fastest growing sports league in the country. We talked about this last show, how the team valuations have all basically 10x in the last couple years. It's an awesome sport. It's really cool to follow. Can we get better officiating? Like, is there any way we can get some of the folks from the NBA, right, to come over and officiate some WNBA games or train up some of these folks? Because the refereeing is, I think it's like college level. It's really bad. And we're talking about professional sports. It should be a step above all of that.
Oh, it's really bad, and I've said it time and time again. And like people think it's funny. Like I said it yesterday in the show. I don't think there's a profession out there that's worse at their job than WNBA officiating. It's really, really bad, and it's painful when you lose a wager and you just feel sort of like shortchanged. But that's comes with the territory that you know that going in. Like I said, you might get some friendly whistle in a lot of ways, but we turn the page. We do since we're on the W. Let's talk about that. We have a high profile game tonight, or a game that usually is high profile. Aces Liberty. They've combined to win each of the last 3 WNBA championships, and this was the super team. Blah blah blah. A couple years ago, but the Aces are mired with a 500 record. Liberty have lost 5 of 7, so they've certainly not been the same swagger, but they're also missing Jonquel Jones, who is the finals MVP from a year ago. But the Aces have the reigning league MVP, so there's a lot to like with this Aces team, and I liked some of the adjustments that Becky Hammon did in the last game. She's bringing some of her bench players, playing them more because they play with more energy and things like that. But I mean, they face the Connecticut Sun, who stink. So this is a different game. I'm torn because this Liberty team is thin. How do you see this?
Yeah, I thought when Asia Wilson came back most recently from her injury, I thought the Vegas Golden, sorry, not Golden Knights, the Vegas Aces had turned a corner, right? And then obviously that game 2 games ago when they faced the Indiana Fever without Caitlin Clark and basically lost by 30 points. But if you throw that game away, Doug, and I know you can't throw games away, right? But if you don't include it, just for the purpose of this conversation, they have been playing a lot better. Yes, it's when the Aces lose is because their starters don't really produce to the level that they should be. They're gonna get effort from their bench players. They're always gonna get effort from their star player in Asia Wilson. But the rest of the starters in that game against Indiana, they shot like 12%, right? It was
That's bad.
pretty horrible. So I don't know about the game today, right? I would say there's a lot of different elements to this matchup. I mean, if you look at recent history, New York has dominated this matchup. In the last 10 games, I think they're 8-2 head to head against Vegas, and that includes, those super teams as well. But it's such a hard time right now to back the New York Liberty just because they're playing such bad basketball. In their last 10 games, they're 1-8-1 against the spread. That is by far the worst. That's the worst mark in the league. That includes the Connecticut Sun. Again, this is against the spread record. So I don't know. Is this a buy low situation with New York, or are they just not as good as we thought they would be?
Well, they're not, and I think this sort of tails what we discussed yesterday, Albert. It's just like I think the league is deeper now, right? I don't think you can just roll the ball out and suit up with a couple stars and just have them dominate. Like Sabrina running around, throwing her, like a little duck run where she like half steps and then she has some nice passes and some nice threes, but I mean these players are like competent now, so you can't just run around. She's not I mean we all saw that video. What were they in the Philippines in the preseason, and some
Yeah.
like 14-year-old guy like just defended her, moved his feet, and because she's so slow, and then she threw the ball at him basically. And it's really probably frustrating when you dominate and everyone's just like a little better now. So athleticism actually matters now, and she's a very, very good player. I mean, she's this all-star starter, but I just don't think you can just win and cover with her and Stewie, and especially Stewie was so bad in the last game. And Asia Wilson typically shuts her down. So I would actually side with the Aces. They're playing with a little edge. Like I like Alyssa Smith uh in the Nilissa in the starting lineup. I don't think she's that good of a player, but she brings toughness, brings want to, things like that. Becky Hammond played Kirsten Bell like meaningful minutes in the last game, which hadn't happened all year. And so they're playing players that have an edge. Now, I'm going to go with the first half over. I think both these teams, so the Aces offensively want to push the pace. That's their best. They want to push with Dana Evans, especially coming in as a backup point guard. I don't think they want to just get in the half court set and get the ball to Asia and stand around and watch. They do that at times, but I do think they want to get into movement, and the Liberty do as well. They're better in transition, so I'm expecting a lot of points. The problem is they hit a wall in the second half often, and that's my concern for the game over. So I'm going to just go first half because I think that's when Sabrina's fresher and things like that. So over 82 minus 109 is what I'm going to play. I think that's the right approach here. Any thoughts on that?
I do want to make it known that Doug and I did not talk before this show. So the fact that he likes the first half over kind of dovetails into my look. If you look at my show notes right now, I said if the first half total goes way over, right? If it gets out of control, because I have no play on this game pre-flop, but if it gets over that, and hopefully Doug cashes his bet, I like the second half under because the Liberty they do struggle in the half court offense. Doug mentioned it. They lack quickness, they lack athleticism, and without Jonquel Jones, they lack size. And Natasha Cloud, as well, the third best player, isn't 100%. I think she's still iffy right now with her hip injury, but if she does play, she's not going to be, quicker or faster than the rest of the aces there. So I kind of like the second half under. I know it's easy to fade the New York offense right now just because they're struggling, but I just don't see them, facing the Vegas, facing the Knights and somehow fixing their offense overnight. So again, to review, no bet for me before the game. But if the first half is really high scoring, then I do like it to kind of regress back and slow down in the second half.
I like it. You're keeping an eye on it. This is a scenario that you think if the game unfolds a specific way, you see it that way. And we want to remind you to get involved in the conversation. We like the comments here on the channel. And that's all we got. A is your name. Hello, all from the UK. Good to see a match live during our time zone. Talking about the morning game. Also, Sky cover the spread nicely. So good way to cash on that, Mr. A. And we also want to remind you to subscribe and like. That's very important for us here in the YouTube world, and it's free for you guys. It's a nice appreciation. And it is significant because Betting Weekly reached 10,000 subscribers, I believe, within the last couple hours. So well done to Nigel and the entire team. We want to thank you for your contributions and your efforts. It really helps us, and it's a big milestone. And so we really, really do appreciate it. And, Betting Weekly, Fast Breaks, obviously a fantastic show you always want to listen to and watch. But we also have Betting Weekly Hardball, which is 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. And then obviously the other shows with the other crew and Betting Weekly Game Bet Match, Nigel and Sean Calvert. That posted this morning. They're previewing Wednesday's 2 men's quarterfinal matches at Wimbledon. So go check that out. Albert, I know you're a big Wimbledon and tennis bettor yourself. So you're into all that content. And we've been doing well, man. I know Wes is on a nice little run in baseball. We did well in the hardball show yesterday, although I did have that loser in the summer league, but my baseball's been solid. I'll be back on that show tomorrow. So look, we got a lot of good content. I know the tennis and the soccer crews do well, and they have some nice big beefy payouts. And I know Albert, you handicap tennis and soccer, so you're certainly appreciative of their efforts.
Yeah, I guess I want to say congratulations to the Bet Rivers crew. Not only the folks that are in front of the screen and the analysts, but especially the folks, and it's a big testament to the people behind the screen, right? They make everything really smooth. They make everything look really good. So thank you guys for all of your hard work. 10,000 is not a milestone to shrug your shoulders at. So congrats there. And you're right. We had just had a comment from A there from UK. They just went from Wimbledon tennis all morning, and now they're doing WNBA. I mean, they are living the life right now. That's the epicenter of sports, if you will. Wimbledon, I think it's going to be Alcaraz versus Sinner, and my pick, Doug, and people are not going to like this. I think Yannick Sinner is going to get it done and become the Wimbledon champion this year. So we'll see what happens.
Okay, and he was the one was down 0-2 yesterday and caught a withdrawal on his
Yes, Gregor
opponent.
Dimitrov, he tore his pec muscle off like 132 miles serve, and he was pretty much curtains after that. He retired. So yeah, Sinner was down 0-2, tied 2-2 in the third. Who knows if he would have came back, right? He's obviously the superior player, but we know how he is in 5-setters in majors. He's not good. So he would have needed a 5-set win there yesterday, but I think that's a blessing in disguise. He got not only the win, but he got some extra time off. He's going to be rested for his next match.
Okay. So we covered the Aces Liberty game. I have an official play first half over 82, and we'll see how it unfolds. But there are 2 games tomorrow that we want to discuss because they tip and end before our show. And what's going on this week and happens every summer in the W, there are some summer camp games. So they have an early tip time during the week. So summer camps, and they can get more people in the crowd and tickets and all that stuff. So we have 2 games that are early tomorrow. So we want to handicap them today. It's nice to wake up and fire a little wake and rake, if you will. So we have 2 bizarre games. Let's start with the Indiana Fever, who are expected to get Caitlin Clark back after, I want to say, 6 games out with a left growing injury. At Bet Rivers, Fever are a 7.5-point home favorite, 163.5. And again, you got some moving parts. Caitlin Clark coming back. There's talk of playing her and Ari McDonald at the same time because McDonald's been a point guard and Colson's obviously in the mix as well. And the Valkyries, who are an absolute wagon, a lot of times covering, especially the first half spread. And they're a West Coast team, so it's early tip, but they've already adjusted. They've been on the East Coast for a few games here. So any early reads here? Because this Valkyries team is frisky, but then they haven't been a wagon covering on the road. They're only great as a home dog.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was going to say that I'm not going to touch this game just because the Valkyries they've kind of bit me. I thought they would fall back down to earth, and they have for the full game. but I was on the Atlanta Dream first half. Somehow the Valkyries covered that, and then they ended up losing the game by 9. So I don't know if they're starting to fade. Potentially they could be, but I wouldn't be backing an Indiana team that is just getting Caitlin Clark back. There's going to be an adjustment period. Both teams are, 9-9. They are what they are. And Doug mentioned it. Golden State has a really good home court advantage, but I think they're only 2-6 on the road. And Indiana, as we all know, is not an easy place to play. So I'm gonna lay off of it. I don't even see if there's a second half angle. I just think with such a big heliocentric player coming back in Caitlin Clark, it's hard to kind of handicap what her impact is going to be right now. I have to see it for at least a game or two first.
Yeah, there's gotta be. I mean, she's such a big influence, right, to the flow of a team offensively. She's the point guard. I mean, it's not just, a spot up shooter coming back, and then you can almost make it seamless. It's very different. But she's a dominant force. So whatever they, gain with her skills, they might lose in, chemistry or flow. And the Valkyries, like I said, are a wagon in the first half. They've been so good against the number this year.
And this
Maybe,
is a tough team. This is a tough team, Doug,
yeah.
for Caitlin Clark. Her first game back, I think you said in 6, to play against an elite defense. I know people don't want to talk about that when it comes to an expansion team, but Golden State is a great defense, and it's not going to be easy for Caitlin Clark. Friday would have been my choice. They play Dallas, which is Swiss cheese on defense, right? That would have been super easy for Caitlin, but maybe getting back on Wednesday, not playing a full terms of minutes and just getting back into the flow. And then Friday is going to be easy for her against Dallas.
Well, I think they need her in this Valkyries game. That's one way to look at it. Second is, I'm just going to throw this out there. Her struggles started when facing the Valkyries.
Hmm.
She went 3 of 14, including 0 of 7 from downtown. And then the next game, she went 1 of 10 from downtown, 0 and 6. Now, she might have been hurt, okay? But it could also be Natalie Nakase's defensive scheming to get the ball out of her hand, whatever it might be, showing on some screens. So I'm just curious if not that there's a one trick sort of riddle and solution to Caitlin Clark, but I am curious if there is something that Nakase and the Valkyries did, and then if so, is there a counter to that the Fever might implement with this matchup? So I think schematically it could be a really interesting matchup.
I think you're right. And people don't realize like Caitlin Clark is a great player, and you can make an argument if she's healthy and humming, she might be the best player in the league. But she is still very young. This is still just her second year, and she hasn't played a full year, so she's still trying to get acclimated herself, not only the game but also her teammates. I think Bet Rivers. I was looking at some of the outlets, and maybe Bet Rivers also has it up, but her player prop for tomorrow night is 17.5. How do you feel about that?
Well, just my from afar, my read of like how I think she's going to be deferential. She is a willing passer, I guess is the best way to put it. She's not afraid to distribute the ball and things like that. I don't think she's just going to come out and chuck, but she's also a gifted scorer. I would say my first read would be under. Um, but I also think this game might sort of come down to the wire. So I don't know if minutes count is implemented, but I'd say I'd have apprehension on betting both. But if I had to pick one, I'd bet the under.
One other element is this is a groin injury she's coming back from, which can pop at any time as well. It doesn't mean that she's 100%. It's soft tissue, and it's something that she's going to be straining every single time she has the ball. So look out for, maybe she not. Hopefully, none of us wants her to re-injure herself, but don't be surprised if she kind of tweaks it a little bit in her first game back.
Yeah, it could be gimpy, could be a minutes count. I don't think they're doing a minutes count. I think you want to play her when she's fully ready. And I think as of last Sunday, she was approaching full participant in practice. So they've been cautious for sure. So I guess no official plays for us. You know, Clark under 17 halves, not a bad look. I can see that for sure. Now the other morning game is a big one in terms of the spread. Sun 17-point home underdogs with Seattle in town. 156.5 is your total. Now, we've talked about this Connecticut team. They're very limited since Marina Mabry's injury. Some of the players are playing a little better. Sanaya Rivers, the athletic wing out of NC State. Um, Morrow out of Kentucky, I want to say, has been okay. Then Tina Charles has always been steady. So there are some players that have shown, made them look less incompetent, but 17 is a monster number. And I don't know if Seattle's capable of this, but it's tough to even just grab these many points too.
Seattle, in my opinion, is definitely capable, Doug, but we know that Seattle plays down to their competition, just like they play up to better competition as well. So for me, I think it's a Sun spot here, even though they've lost a million games in a row, and I think that number is actually 10, right? I think the value here is on the Sun, and against the spread, they're actually pretty respectable on the season. They're 7-11 ATS. That includes, being what 2-17 overall. So um, obviously, I don't like the team. I think they are not think, but they are the worst team in the league from a record perspective. But an ATS perspective, they're pretty respectable, and it's not only because maybe they're not as bad as people seem, but also the other side. It's hard for a team to also have to blow out a team by 20 points, right? And so that's what we've been seeing now. Every single Sun game has been above 15 points, and it's just hard to cover that number.
So I guess just to play devil's advocate, because we do have the option of in-game wagering. What do you think's like? We don't think the Sun are going to win. Okay. I guess there is a scenario where they could lose by 9, right? Like single digits, but high single digits.
hmm
I guess my point is, don't you think at some point during the game, it's going to be 19.5, 20.5? Because what happened is the last game, the Sun did not cover the game line, but they covered second half. They were catching like 22 for the game or something, and it landed 20, and the game line was 16.5. So if I'm going to get involved in the Sun, which I certainly can support because the point spread is always the equalizer, I'm going to try to snag a better number than 17 because I think that they're going to lose by like at best 13 or 14. So I don't think it's going to be a single digit loss. So I think you're looking at 11. I'm like, that's too low. So like 13. So I would just I'd rather have like a wider landing area than this particular point.
What's that buy point for you for the Sun? Is it plus 19 and a half, plus 20 and a
Yeah,
half?
like pre-flop, it'd be like 19.5 because the Storm are very good. And I think this comes down to Malanga, right? The number 2 overall pick, the 19-year-old out of France. Like she's going to get a lot of run here. And she was schooling Stewie the other day, but that's because they were, they were winning on the road, and Stewie they kind of packed it in. I do think the Storm play down to their opponent, and I guess if you don't bet it pre-flop, then you run the risk of like I don't know 4-point game at half, and then the new line's 11, kind of like the Sky was on Sunday with the Lynx, right? It was a tight game the entire way, and the 16.5-point spread never came into play, or 15.5, whatever it was. I think you can get a better number. I don't think this is the nut number here. It's plus 17. I think I wouldn't lay it at all. There's no chance I'd lay it, but there's a lot of talent with Seattle. And when you get Gabby Williams on the break and things like that, you just realize how limited this Connecticut team is. Now, Bria Hartley's playing okay. I think JC Sheldon's weak offensively, but Nelson Adota's been fine. Like they're starting to show a little bit more competent play.
And Seattle is one of the few teams in the league with a winning record, both on the road and at home. This is a quality team. I agree with Doug. Maybe you can find a better number live, but I'm not touching any Sun game for the foreseeable future.
Brad Elwanger in the comments section, going back to Caitlin Clark, in immediate availability today, CC said she was on a 20-minute restriction, I believe. So that's something to keep an eye on. To take a look, and chiming in, the Sun actually put up a fight versus the Aces in the second half that nearly cost me my unders and spread bets. Ha. Yeah, I agree. I think you need to be careful. And Albert's talked about it, and he's nailed it. His fourth quarters are so wild in this league when there is a double-digit lead/deficit. You got to be really careful. Some of these teams will just pack it in and look at who they have next. And sometimes some of them back to back, especially with these early games, they'll play the next night on the road at night. So they have 36 hours or so. So all part of the handicap. That's the nuance of a spread like 17 in a basketball game. These are sort of different angles than when the spread's like 2. Very different handicap, very different analysis, and that's part of the equation that one must sort out. So just a reminder, we are Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. We also have Betting Weekly Hardball, which is 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific, and we reached 10,000 subscribers. We want to keep it going. So please like and subscribe as we move along here and try to pick up another 10,000. And that thing can certainly snowball. We've talked about it. Summer League up and running. Now, Vegas Summer League is going to pick up in a little bit in a few days, but we are underway in both California and Utah. Cali had some fun games. This Lakers team, little shaky at times, but the great ending we had last night was in Memphis game. There was a runner from Gigi Jackson, and it looked like it was a running three. I guess his foot was on the line, so it was down 3 in the final seconds, and it went in, but it was a 2-pointer. So that's the unfortunate thing. So I guess do you have a response here? Because what is this playing? It's sort of like pool play. Is that they play each other regardless
Yeah,
of the outcomes? It's not a bracket.
correct, correct. They all play each other one time. I mean, I don't have any looks for the games in California, Doug, but I'm gonna go back on that wagon. You were on the Jazz under last night. You said it flew over by 40, 50 points. I'm gonna take a stab at it today. I like the
Right.
Thunder Jazz under 178 and a half. It's the second night of a back-to-back for the Utah Jazz, so we know even though it's summer league, maybe there's some tired legs or maybe less concentration or focus on the second night of a back-to-back. And we know Thunder from the top all the way to the bottom, summer league, the whole mantra is defense, 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 especially wing defense. And so I kind of like the under here. I know it's kind of a reaction to what happened last night, right? I think both teams ended up scoring like 110 points. It was absurd. But I like the under tonight. Again, it's summer league, so keep your units really small. This is probably like a half unit play for me.
It's good to have a little action. This is the beauty of the sort of the entertainment component, and we have altitude. Let's not forget that. I mean, yeah, the Jazz are at home in altitude, but the players aren't used to. They haven't been living there. Some of the guys have, and I wonder if they start pulling back some of the minutes of the Bryce Sensabaugh, Filipowski, Williams, Cody Williams. So I just wonder if some of these guys they'll get a little bit more raw, especially after a big game. Thunder are pretty loaded. The whole the whole franchise, all the rosters at all levels. But I wouldn't be betting over. I would be too reactionary. I like your look at the under. But the key here, and this is something to keep in mind for the rest of summer league as well, is just the playing time. When some of these guys will come and play only a few minutes. I remember covering this league 10, 15 years ago, 15 years ago now. And Ron Artest, before he was Meta World Peace, wanted to play. And it was like Artest was playing something like, and he played like 1.5 games. He didn't play the whole league. He wanted to get some run. Some of these other guys, I remember Amari Stoudemire played. So some of these guys will play a little bit and just kind of hang out the rest. So I wonder if they'll stagger their minutes and all this stuff. I mean, and the coaches are green, right? They're never the main head coaches. They're getting a lot of assistants, get opportunity to play, coach as a regular head coach instead of an assistant. So they manage timeouts, they manage game situations, and there's a lot more on their mind. So they make some mistakes as well. So there's just a lot to incorporate in a handicap. I guess that's the best way to put it, and that's something to keep in mind. And like you said, lower units, and you found that out. You've learned over the years that why.
Doug, I know we're going down memory lane when it comes to, summer league, but have you looked at the 2017 Lakers summer league roster? They were loaded. Backcourt was Lonzo, Brandon Ingram. Front court was Josh Hart, Kuzma, and Zubac. That's an amazing starting five for a summer league team. Obviously, they ended up winning, and Lonzo didn't play more than 2 games himself in Vegas. But I just remember I was there for Lonzo's first game, and it was basically a Lakers home game, right? Las Vegas is
Right.
basically LA East, so it was really cool to see.
Yeah, it's almost like a playoff team in the East, if you break it down. So you like the under in the Jazz game. Um, there's a couple. So Memphis and Philly. I mean, that's should be a really interesting one. Um, Gosh, I like this Philly team. I mean, Edgecombe's been pretty special, right? So his rookie of the year odds shot down after this, after one game where he just looked so good. But this Memphis team, man, they're just loaded. I kind of lean Memphis here. It's it's tempting, right, to play these teams but this Memphis, their franchise and how they reload and everything, like they're pretty impressive with their player development and player scouting. Like how they found GG Jackson. I love Jalen Wells starting, especially defensively this year, and they've been using Cam Spencer. That's a pretty good lineup, all things considered. So I'm tempted to pull the trigger on Memphis here.
I mean, I think it's the Memphis side or nothing at all because I think they basically have 3 NBA starters right now playing on their summer league team, and they're getting pretty good minutes. Again, this I believe this is the last game of the night, right? For or last game of the week for Salt Lake Summer League, if I'm not
Right.
mistaken. Yeah, so most of these teams are going to Vegas in a day or two. So I agree with Doug there. I do have a question for you, Doug. So we have these teams that are playing in California and Utah. I think 8 teams total. Do you think they have an advantage over, the teams in Vegas that haven't played yet, especially that first game? I've been thinking about how to handicap Thursday night, the first games in Vegas, and the teams like the Lakers who are playing the Mavericks in my opinion, should have a distinct advantage because they've played 3 games already. They're more in game shape than someone like the Dallas Mavericks.
It's a very good angle. I'd have to go look at previous years. I'd have to just really just use past data because conventional thought is, yeah, they'd have an edge, but maybe not. That would be my apprehension, I guess.
Yeah, I mean Thursday. I know I'll be watching just Cooper Flag versus Bronny and Dalton Connect, and it'll be fun just watching those two teams play. And I think they're on national TV. I think it's ESPN on Thursday night.
Well, one thing I'm waiting to get official word because Edgecombe did not play and Janai Broom did not play last night. So Philly, they played well in the first game. They didn't play in the second game, and that's something I wish I had known because they only manufactured 78 points. So, excuse me, Broom did play, but Edgecombe did not. Now, Sixers Twitter did say, "Hey, come watch Edgecombe tonight," and like put the um, TV specifics and how to watch. But things can change. Coaches can sit. I wonder if Edgecombe's playing, but I would assume he is if he sat out the last game. So that would be my only apprehension. But I think I'm going to make Grizzlies official. I think that's the right side here. So
And and if I was
uh,
running Philadelphia, I think this would be a great test, right, to see how good my rookie is, stacked up against 3 NBA starters in Memphis. So I would play him even if it's not for a full game. So um, I, I still tend to agree with you. I think this is a Memphis side or nothing at all. But I'm probably gonna lay off. Only thing for me is that Jazz under.
that's fair. And Topic is going to go for OKC. That is an official word from that team, and he's the guy who was drafted last year. He's the first player ever to win a championship ring without having suited up or played for a team. So, a little fun fact for you: so the Thunder 2.5 point dogs in Salt Lake against the Jazz. In that game, we'll see if Ace Bailey goes. This is why it's important to also track Twitter and everything to get a last minute bet in. Um, I saw a place last night that had Kalea Copper prop for her points prop, and I'm like, "Is she playing now?" And I checked, she still wasn't playing, they just had her prop up. Now, it was a no action bet, but, just shows you who's on top of things and things like that. That was not Bet Rivers, by the way, it was somewhere else. So, those are things to keep in mind. As we continue to sort out free agency, I would say the biggest in the last 24 hours, Albert, I would say the Clippers probably have showed the most sort of I don't know, we can show their cards the most. Like it looks like with the moves they've made because they had the trade yesterday morning. They lose Norm Powell, make some moves, and it looks like they could be getting Bradley Beal.
Hmm.
Again, it's all speculation, and obviously the West is loaded. But the Clippers, I think, did really well in this trade. But they're still the Clippers, and I always make fun of them, and I never want to bet on them. But there's things that to like about what they're doing in the last 24 hours because John Collins, I think, is what they need and he does not clog the paint either.
Yeah, I mean Bradley Beal for 50 million is terrible, right? But if you could get Beal for potentially the veterans minimum, I mean that's a move you make 8 times every week. Kind of pains me, like I mentioned it last week. I'm a Luca fan, so I'm hoping the Lakers can do some moves, and kind of disappointing that he's joining the other Los Angeles team and not the Lakers.
You mentioned yesterday about the Sacramento Kings 13-1 to win the Pacific. Clippers the third favorite at plus 250. Any interest there? Because last year they did really well with Jeff Van Gundy as their defensive coordinator, de facto DC, and he was rumored to be in the Knicks, but he never interviewed, I don't think. So he's coming back, I'm assuming. Ty Lue's there. They have strong foundation with Kawhi and everything. I mean, they've seen better than the Lakers. The problem is LeBron just dominates them when they play head to head. And Luca, do you believe all these reports of Luca being in tip top shape?
I do. I mean, I followed Luca 3 years ago when he was playing for Slovenia national team, and he dropped a ton of weight for that summer as well. The issue with Luca isn't dropping weight in the summer, because now we've seen it basically for 3 summers. He does it, gets a trainer, he does really good cardio, he drops weight. There's pictures of him on the internet with actual like a chiseled face and all that. Obviously, with Laker Nation, you're gonna overanalyze all that. The issue with Luca was always coming back to the states and just falling in love with the fast food. Like there's no like no one is going to dispute you. Like he was a huge fast food guy here living in Dallas, Whataburger and Tex-Mex and all that. I don't know if it's the same in LA. It's also a different stage of his life now with a kid, and so like yeah, we'll see. I mean, Luca, we all know how great he can be, even when he's not in tip-top shape. We're all waiting to see how amazing he can be now being in shape. So we'll see that. But I would say this about the Clippers. You asked, I think there's a lot of value there, because not only the Kawhi Harden piece, but they have a really good front court. If you include, John Collins, Derek Jones, Zubac, and also Brooke Lopez, basically your third big, that's a really deep team that, I mention this all the time. They're gearing for the playoffs, but now if they have bodies and depth, they can actually start winning the regular season games as well. The caveat against the Clippers, in my opinion, is I don't know how long you can expect James Harden to continue to play at his all NBA level. I think last season was a surprise to many, even himself. And he was very efficient. It was basically, James Harden light in Houston. He was doing well there, but I don't know. It's another great regular season, struggling playoff season. We'll see where they are moving forward.
I want to say he played the fifth most minutes total at his position or something like that, one of those stats. So he had a great year, don't get me wrong. And I've been very critical of him, and I stand by my criticism because it's very playoff centric. But yeah, he did log those minutes and played well in the regular season, helped him get to the playoffs and all that good stuff. The question is, he just hides come playoff time when there's a big game in a 2-2 game 5 or game 7 against Denver. He was pathetic. Now, if they stack the deck where they have other guys to score and everything, and he's not as relied on, then fine. Maybe that's the answer. But I question a lot of the money for sure. But you're right. If they're loaded and the guys like Derek Jones Jr. are so valuable, Norm Powell was too defensively as well. But you got to give up something to get something. So they have more wings, and the losing Powell does suggest they're ready to bring in Bradley Beal. But again, I don't think anything's finalized, as if it were, they would have done it already. So something to keep an eye on. But yeah, so Clippers plus 250 to win the Pacific, plus 1,200 to win the West, which seems low. I wouldn't pull the trigger there. I mean, I don't see them being anything better than a 3 or 4 seed. Just 12-1. I mean, when you factor in everything, I don't know. I would need more, and to win it all at 22-1. So it's about fair price, but I don't know how much changes if they add Beal. Maybe they go to 11-1 or 10-1. But the West right now, obviously OKC's in the class by itself, but Denver's got a lot of buzz right now. And I still like you were the first one to mention the Mavs in terms of a long shot play. So I really like that as well still.
And I think, we're underrating Houston right now, but Houston in a 7-game series is going to be tough. And plus, I still think they're making one more move. they've gotten all these bodies that are kind of duplicates to each other. I think they're all gonna. I think Houston's one move away from actually being contender. The issue with picking a team like the Clippers is that they have to go through the gauntlet that is the West. They have to beat teams like Detroit in a 7 game, or sorry, Denver in a 7 game series, and or OKC in a 7 game series. It's hard to see a team beat both of those teams in a series, in one playoff season. So I don't know. I'm gonna lay out. I was on the Clippers, to win the West last year. Again, they've never made the NBA Finals, so it's one of those teams where it happens, and it won't happen until it happens, right? But I mean, yeah, it's 12-1 is not enough for me.
Not enough for now. There's just so many other players involved and things like that. But good to talk it out. Good to flush it out. Good to get other opinions. And sometimes you arrive at a play and sometimes you don't. But three official plays for us, the ones we mentioned throughout the show. Albert's on the under in the summer league game. Thunder Jazz 178.5. I'm on summer league game myself. The Grizzlies -1.5. And then in the WNBA game tonight, first half over 82. And man, this Caitlin Clark minutes count, everything. You have me thinking I want to make a play here. I it's tempting. Have you come around at all on a prop bet for her?
You mean on the points, 17 and a
Yeah,
half? It seems high, right? It seems
it
pretty
does.
high, but um, especially against a such defensive-minded team, I would expect that the game to be a lot slower. I agree with you. I think that's an underplay, but we know she's really efficient from the line. So if she draws a lot of fouls in the fourth quarter, you might get a bad beat there.
Right.
But you can't handicap like that. I would say if you really like the under, I would probably fire right now before they take it
Yeah,
off,
I'm just
right? Before the whole minutes things becomes more well known.
right, right. So it did officially go down at Bet River, so it's not posted right now. I just noticed that. So that's gosh, darn it. But okay, maybe it'll get put back up, something like that. But something to keep in mind. Um, so I'm reading a quote right now. Possible minutes restriction. This is from an hour ago. She's on the mic, and I'm looking at the text. She said, obviously hard sitting out and watching for a few weeks. I hope to play a decent amount, maybe upper 20s. Depends how I feel and how the game goes. Probably going to try to not overdo it as well. Hmm. Something to keep in mind. Um, so yeah, I think that's the way to play it. Um, I think that's the way to play it. So, okay, so keep an eye on it. If it gets reposted, maybe pounce. We'll see. We'll see how it does. But that's going to do it for this edition of Betting Weekly Fast Break for Albert Nguyen and everyone behind the scenes who's helped Betting Weekly. The entire umbrella reached 10,000 subscribers. So, congrats to everyone involved. And thanks to you, the audience, for helping us get there. I'm Doug Kezirian. We'll see you back here tomorrow.